Hey, it's Mazzy, and guess who I have? I have Vinyl Richie here. Now, there's a link below. If you don't know Vinyl Richie, you have no idea where you're not paying attention. Vinyl Richie's been around longer than I have, actually. Not in age, in years. I'm like a year older than you, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're the SoCal, Bakersfield Valley guy, and I'm the Frisco boy, and now in the great Pacific Northwest. But we're going to tell you, we're going to talk for about, I don't know how long it takes to tell you what the best psychedelic album of all time is. The greatest psychedelic. None of the shit that's in the acid archives. None of those like regional psychedelic things that are terribly produced, that are lo-fi, when guys get together and they can't sing, they can't play, and it's cool because it's weird. That's not really, you need to have good songs, and for my opinion. So Richie and I are going to chat about this because we agree pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of words. Okay. So
Am I on screen
you're
or is it just you?
we're both on screen at the
Oh,
same
okay.
time.
Because you're giant and I'm like in the little corner
Yeah,
on
I think
mine.
that's
But
just the way the
okay.
preview
All
is.
right.
Unless
But
it unless it
I thought
screws
we were
up.
gonna discuss this album.
Good tapes. Not this time. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say I enjoyed your video you did up there
Oh, in Vancouver.
in
That was fun.
Canada. It
That was
was
fun. It's
it
still
was
a
one of your
mystery.
it's one of your better videos I've seen in a while because you kind of get stuck in the weeds. And my videos, I'm not like that. Like you'll talk about who the producer is and the engineer, and I don't really generally
You don't give a
go into
crap.
that.
Yeah.
And but I could this I might be nerding out on this video, and I don't normally do that, and especially with the Beatles on my channel.
Oh,
But
you just let the cat out of the bag.
oh
Okay.
well.
Let's just show
Well, what's the name of this video gonna be?
the best psychedelic album
Okay,
ever.
I blew it.
Well, we know now. You want to
Yeah.
hold it up?
Yeah. Wow, you got a bunch of them.
Well, I got the EP. We're going to talk about it. Originally came out in the UK as an EP. This is the best version, the Horror Zoo, which is all has all those three extra tracks. Not three extra tracks, but three extra tracks that are all stereo for the first time. I think it's Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love, and Hello Goodbye. Maybe I may be wrong about that. Some wanker's going to put in the comments that I'm wrong about that, but this is the one to get if you don't have it. This is the
No,
one.
I don't have it.
Yeah. But
My version's pretty good, so I'm okay. I mean,
But
look
1967.
what I have inside mine.
Oh, Lennon stamps. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had those,
wow.
and I
I was
actually
wondering
used
where
them.
those were.
I didn't keep those. I actually used them to mail
I
things.
was gonna use one and frame the other, but I still have both of them.
You slipped them in Magic or Mystery Tour because it's the best psychedelic album
Yeah,
ever.
it is.
Now, 1967 is the best psychedelic year. Of course, there was stuff happening in 66 after Garage, and you got Tomorrow Never Knows with the Beatles, and you got other bands too. The Beatles didn't invent psychedelia. Here's how I always compare. Steve Jobs, whatever you think, if he's a wanker or not, he didn't invent the iPhone. He didn't invent the MP3 player. He made them better. And that's how I look at the Beatles with this. And some people throw out Sergeant Pepper, but this is a much better psychedelic album than Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah, Sergeant Pepper. I never thought of it as a psych album at the time. I just thought of it probably the greatest album ever, and probably I still do. But yeah, I listen to it now and I do hear psych elements in it. But yeah, this one here it's got both feet in the psychedelic genre or realm.
And
What
remember,
do you think
okay,
of the cover?
I like
The
the cover. I know a
the
lot of
US
people,
cover.
I like the cover. A lot of people didn't like it, but
I
I think
I,
it's, I think it's cool.
I
Goo
don't
Goo.
like the names, the way they have the names on it. I think they could have done without that. Like that the cover of that EP is pretty cool. It's just the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, let's tell people, I mean, I think a lot of people know, but there are always new people. I hate when people say, Hey, Mazzy, we already know that. Well, maybe you know it, but there's a lot of people watching these things that don't know this stuff. In the UK, this is put out as a double LP, excuse me, a double EP extended play. EPs never really caught on in America. They tried
No.
a few over the years, but they were big in the UK.
And
And
I
of
think
course,
I think that was the first time it was a double EP had ever been issued in the UK,
I
even
think
though
so.
EPs were big.
And it had like the album, the booklet there. It came out in mono and stereo in the UK, and it was a soundtrack to the picture. Now, the movie is considered the Beatles' first major failure, and it was shown on Boxing Day in black and white. It's a weird movie. It's out there. It's experimental. You got the Bonzo Dog Band in it. You got a lot of weird stuff in it. And I didn't see it until like the 70s. It wasn't shown in America. You couldn't get it, I'd say not till 75, 6 or 7. But the first place it was shown outside of this, the Beatles sent a print of it to San Francisco for a benefit for the Straight Theater on Haight Street. It used to be an old movie theater called the Haight Theater that was turned into a music venue, and that's the place they showed it. I didn't see that. I was a little too young then. But I think the next following year in '68, it was sent to the Straight Theater to, that print. So I think there were bootlegs made of it after, and there were some rough showings in theaters after that from that copies of
Yeah,
that
I
print.
I had a VHS bootleg of it, probably in the 80s, and quite frankly, the film is a turd. I mean, it has its moments, but overall, it's a turd.
Yeah, it's a moment. The best part of it, I think everyone agrees. You know what the best moment is in in reality, like the music in terms of a music video or something. Of course, let me find it in the book here.
Sergeant Pepper,
No, the I am the
Sergeant
Walrus.
Pepper.
The
Yeah,
I am the
that.
Walrus. The I am the
Yeah,
Walrus.
I am the walrus. Yes.
Yeah, not Sergeant Pepper. Give me
Yeah,
a
I.
break. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Well, I'm old, and yeah, that was definitely the best part. Is the
Yeah,
I
it's
am the
great.
walrus, and the songs were definitely the best part.
West Malling Airfield, which doesn't exist anymore. I think there's condos and a shopping center or something there. But let's go through it track by track too. So what they did, okay, interesting enough, the Capitol album came out a couple of weeks before the EP in the U.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was an album first, and then years later, in 1976, UK adopted this as an album, and then of course, over the years with the boxes, now it's considered part of the canon. It's considered a proper album, even though the Beatles, John Lennon, like bitched about it at the time, but it had
yeah.
all those great
It's
singles.
it's just some songs that we made for the film.
And
That's what I think his pretty much his quote.
so let's go through it, I guess.
All right,
Okay, Magic Mystery, the opening song. Okay,
it's
what
a
do you,
good opener. I don't think it's quite as good as Sergeant Pepper,
but
the
it's like
opening,
that. It's like an
but it's
introduction.
like that. It's an introduction to this idea of an album, and I think it works quite well, actually.
Yeah, the horns are great on it. I like
Yeah,
the horns on it. And the bus sounds. You got the
there's a spoken word part. Is that on the English or is that only the UK version, or is it on both? I forget.
spoken word
I
part.
think it's like John saying, "Yeah, you can join the magical
Well, he
tour."
says, I mean, I don't think he speaks it. He kind of sings it, doesn't he? I don't
I
know
don't
the
know.
spoken word part. So,
He sings it about as much as like a Lou Reed sings his songs, you know.
okay, all right.
Okay.
Now we go into Fool in the Hill. Now, that on the surface, that's not a psychedelic song.
It kind of has that floaty. Doesn't he even play? What is that? It's not a.
It's like a
What are
flute,
the? Huh?
like a recorder.
Yeah, he plays the recorder in it, and that's not a traditional rock instrument at
And
all.
who else that year played the recorder on one of the best psychedelic albums of the same year?
Probably, I don't know.
Grace Slick and Surrealistic Pillow.
Oh, okay.
Do, do, do. Tell me how you feel? You know what's the thing is, a lot of people think psychedelic, all it is like wah-wahs and loud and like, you know,
Oh no.
guitar stuff. But Fool
No.
on the Hill, there's a part of psychedelia that Pink Floyd did with Sid Barrett. and the Small Faces, where it is a little bit of that dance hall stuff brought like retro stuff, old stuff brought into the the hippie era or the psychedelic 67 era.
Yeah,
That song, and of course we'll get to the other one like
yeah.
that.
Then I think the next one falls into that category. I think
Yeah.
Fool on the Hill. When I was a kid, I didn't think it was that. I thought it was an okay song, but I really love it now. I think it's a well written song. I think the music in it is. Can I say the F word? Fantastic.
You can say
Okay.
fantastic, fucking fantastic. I don't mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I think it's a great song.
All right, now we're flying. Now, flying, I think they were calling it, there was another name for it, which I'm blanking out right now. That
Yeah, there was like a
working title,
three-word name for it.
but it's like incidental something music or something. But it's it was written as incidental music, and it's one of only maybe two songs that's credited to all four Beatles as authors.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's freaking great. It's a standard blues thing with a
Yes. It's like
melophone.
a 12 bar blues thing, and they do it three times. The first time is with guitars. The second time is like with mellotron and organ, and then the third time through it's the vocals kind of carry the
Yeah.
jingle. But
It
yeah, I think it's a great song,
it
man. It's
almost
a
has that kind of slide guitar, Hawaiian
yeah.
guitar thing on it.
Oh, please don't say Rycooter. Did you see my comment on your last video?
uh, Rycooter. Um, well, Rycooter taught George a little bit on the slide, like they did with Keith Richards. So, okay, you brought it up. I didn't.
I know. I'm just
But it's a great song. Apparently, there is a version which I hope they release on expanded. Like it goes on for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of that.
yeah.
It's like a jam. It's
See,
great.
when after Sergeant Pepper came out, the Giles Martin remix, I was hoping they were going to do a remix of this because there's a lot of material from '67 that, well, we'll go into it later, that isn't on this album, but I think it could have been. But anyways,
I was hoping for, instead of just Imagine This Tour and a Sergeant Pepper, they should have done, if we were kings of the world, or if I was king of the world, the Beatles, a 1967 box.
yeah,
Because you get the singles, you get, Pepper and this, and you get, yeah, what a great year. I mean, this is
yeah,
great because I was halfway through that year, that summer, I turned 13. So this is like my bar mitzvah music.
yeah. '67 was a strong year for the Beatles. Although probably the two prior years they ruled anyways, I think in those years too.
Oh yeah, and they
Yeah.
lost. Brian Epstein died before
In
this.
August was it or something?
Yeah, yeah. When they went to meet
Because I
them,
think the song "Magical Mystery Tour," the music was actually written before Sergeant Pepper came out,
some of it.
and
Yeah,
then it fell by the wayside. And then after Brian Epstein died, that's when the words were written, and they started doing some more songs for the actual film idea, which I believe was Paul's idea. I
yeah.
think
It was.
that
I mean, this is
yeah,
that period of time that transitions from Sergeant Pepper on. In a way, Lennon kind of pushed everything at the beginning. I mean, Paul was right there with him, obviously, but you think of the most of the A sides were Lennon songs early on, up until after this. There weren't really singles. Well, there's a lot of singles on side two here, but a lot of the A sides were McCartney, and he pushed it because they kind of got lazy, and especially after
yeah.
Brian died, he rallied the troops and had this idea. It kind of failed, but they tried it. But the music didn't fail. The music was amazing.
No, yeah, the album was number one for a while in
Yeah.
both countries, and I think actually "I Am the Walrus" was really the only song that John contributed to the film. You know, the music for the film.
In terms of a main song. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I think most of it was Paul. You know,
Now we're going to go into Blue Jay Way, and it's a
well,
song
we didn't do the we. Oh yes, Blue
we
Jay
did
Way.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Blue Jay Way, a song was written about. There's Blue Jay Way. You can drive up in the Hollywood Hills and see. I did that once way back. Just drove up there. I didn't know if I knew the house. He rented a house up there, and
yeah.
that song, and it's really mystical and Indian and moody, and
It's definitely a psychedelic song.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's very like you said, moody. It's kind of almost got an eerie feeling to it. I heard that they recorded like the music, they actually recorded it twice. And it was like a 1 second delay on the second
On,
recording, and that's how they got that feel. I don't know if that's true. I mean, nowadays you can probably just push a button and
oh, of course,
you
yeah.
get that feel. But
I like it because it is moody. It is out. It's creepy. I'm surprised, and I don't know if it's ever been used in a horror film. It'd be a perfect horror film kind of moment at some points. Instead of using Nick Cave all the time, used George Harrison for a horror film.
yeah, we're tired of Nick Cave.
Okay. Next, I am the Walrus, and then it says, "No, you're
No,
that's
no,
little Nicola." Oh, your mother should know.
you're the wanker of the album.
Is that your? Now that is the song. Here is it's the biggest set
It
piece.
it closes out the movie, doesn't it?
It, yeah, and then they
And
go into
and
that.
it works very well in the film, but on the album, I think it's probably the weakest song on the album.
Well, I like they used this big hangar at West Malling Airfield to film this. Of course, he's got the black carnation, so it's like a Paul is Dead clue again, one of those Paul
Yeah,
is Dead clue. But it's a great song. You know, Paul always would bring in the dance hall kind of stuff his
yeah, the
dad would
wanker.
play around the piano.
Yeah, like I
I,
mean, I think it worked on Sergeant Pepper when I'm 64. On here, I don't think it works quite as well. And then on the White Album with Honey Pie, I mean, by that time, it's like, come on, do you really have to put one of these on every album,
he
Paul?
does, he does. So okay, so that's the end of side one. But let's.
No, no, then you have the best song.
Oh God, I'm really like rushing this thing. I'm sorry. I'm the Walrus, of course.
Yeah.
The second best song.
I think it's, well, for the film, it's definitely the best.
Yes, yes,
And yeah, there is another song on side two of the US album, which is the reason this is probably the best psych album
I
ever made.
agree. I agree. Now, I'm the Walrus was one that apparently John Lennon would get these letters and people commenting and trying to, figure what he's writing about with his lyrics and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
So he wrote, he says, if you want something, I'm going to give you something
Yeah. He
to
gave
go
them
out.
something that they couldn't figure out.
Seem a little pilchard, climbing up the Eiffel Tower, all the, I mean, the
It
lyrics.
has a lot of literary references too. I mean, Edgar Allan Poe's in there, and I think there's some others.
I'm the Eggman. Crap-a-locker fishwife, pornographic priestess. Boy, you been a naughty girl. You let your knickers down. Come on, John. It's hysterical. And the
Yeah,
Eggman, and it's a great piece of music. It's a great collage in a way.
it is. It's fantastic.
All right. So before we get to side two, the singles, let's talk about because we know the comments. People are going to say that's not even close to the best psychedelic album. So let's talk about some other psychedelic albums. People would say, "Oh no, that like Jimi Hendrix's first album is a better record than this," or "Axis Bowl to Love." And what's your response to that, Final Richie?
Well, there's a I after punk. Well, nowadays I'm into psych more than punk. Actually, I listen to it quite often. I would say the first two Pink Floyd albums are definitely very they're great psych albums, but there's so many. I mean, there's so many there's like you got baroque pop psych, you got garage fuzzy psych. There's so many, but I don't think any of them have I Am the Walrus and the other great song. And that's what puts for me that's what puts this over the top.
I think that's what it comes down to is these are great songs. Forget, you can always make something sound psychedelic. Like remember they would put a sitar in it to make it psychedelic. Or
Yeah.
you're right, fuzz wah wah stuff with cream, really Disraeli gears that came out also that.
Electric Prunes, they were really famous for that.
But they're even more, but as psychedelic as they are, they're like garage psych. It's a
Yeah,
different
but they
thing.
are kind of they have that sitar. I mean, I think it was the
Yeah.
guitar with just a pedal, but it does sound like sitars in that.
And really, if you listen to Disraeli Gears, it's basically a blues album psyched up. All those songs are like blues, most of them are blues-based songs, and they add like wah wah and this kind of psychedelic. They change the lyric like she walk, the rainbow has a mustache type of thing.
Yeah. The I think Cream, all their albums have some great songs, but they have some turkeys, and they kind of go like whoa a little bit too much.
Well, that's Jack Bruce.
Yeah.
A one-a, a two-a, a three-a, a four. Yeah, but what okay, let's think of Grateful Dead in 67, their first album, and Jefferson and Real Sick Pillow.
Great albums. I think honestly, I really love the first three Grateful Dead studio albums. They're probably the ones I play the most, to be quite honest.
Yeah. And they're out there, but also, they'll have like China Cat Sunflower and a few or Cosmic Charlie or something. And then they'll
Yeah.
have that weird, something like the Beatles would put later on the White Album. What's it? What happened to the baby? Or what's that song about the baby? It's like a montage of weird ass shit. Cr- just weird, crispy crimson.
You
Tell me
know
what
who
it
had
is.
a great psychedelic debut was Country Joe and the Fish.
Oh yeah.
Their first album is fantastic. The second album, it's good, but it's not quite as good. And it seems like every album after was weaker than the one before, in
I
my
think
opinion.
I think that first Country Joe Electric Music for the Mind and Body is the best San Francisco psychedelic album.
I I I didn't know it at the time, but the Moby Grape debut, I think I
That's not
rank
very
way up there.
psychedelic. That's like bluesy, harder rock in a way.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, it's a good album. It's a great record, but
Yeah.
I don't see that as psychedelic at all.
It has some elements, but yeah, I think you're right overall.
Maybe the opening in Omaha, that kind of that guitar slam thing that starts,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Okay, I got off subject. It's not psych.
it doesn't matter. It's psychedelic. It's
Yeah.
improvisational. Okay.
Do you know that band that Bill Wyman produced? Was it called The End? It's a great psychedelic album, man.
I mean, there are a lot
And
of things like that, like the creation.
yeah, The Creation. Yeah, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah. I mean, Small Faces did like Itchygu Park is a great thing. You know, my
They're
favorite
on a they're on a tier lower than the
8 Miles
Beatles.
High. I mean, that
That was one of the first psych albums,
yeah.
actually, or
But
record
but
songs
but with
ever.
the Birds, they didn't really do a complete psych album. They would do
No,
great
maybe that Younger Than Yesterday
yesterday.
is maybe their most consistently psych,
Yeah.
but that 8 Miles High. Have you heard the version of that that was recorded in 1965?
It was a single. It was a eight for
But
RCA
they
studio.
they wouldn't let them release it because it wasn't recorded in a Columbia
Right.
studio.
They recorded that RCA. It's on like I think they put that on the expanded Legacy CD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I heard it.
It's good.
And if you think about it, it's pretty amazing. That was recorded in 1965. It was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Side
Um,
two?
Side two. Now, for those of you in the UK, you know it by now, unless you're a certain age and you haven't didn't buy records after EPs. This it's
Or
been
youngsters. There's
it's
some youngsters that might not know
but
it.
they wouldn't have known the EP. The youngsters wouldn't
Yeah.
have known. Side two is the five other songs are basically this is in German. I keep forgetting this German version. Um, they don't sing in German, don't worry. Not that there's anything wrong with singing in German because the Beatles did early. But these are the singles from 1967.
Well,
Think of these
well,
singles.
the first song is actually the A side or B side of I Am the Walrus, isn't it?
Hello,
Yeah, I mean,
goodbye.
yeah, Hello Goodbye. And then the others were the
But
other two
hello, okay.
singles released that year.
Now the hello, goodbye. There's that video they shot or the film they shot at the Savile Theater, a theater that Brian Epstein, and it has the girls in the hula outfits and they're doing hello, goodbye. I mean, it's not really a psychedelic song, but at the end they do the little backwards thing. It has a psychedelic elements and a
Yeah.
in the pop arena, right? Do
Yeah.
you hello,
I,
goodbye?
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, most psych albums have some songs that are just have psych elements. They're not like total. I mean, there are some albums that are totally way out there all the way through. But yeah, it's. I
Like,
remember
like
when we were in the car and they were playing that song "Hello Goodbye," and my dad's reaction was, "Oh, it sounds like the Beatles are running out of ideas to sing about." Because you say yes, I say,
Yes, kind of. You think that Paul McCartney wrote those lyrics? Yes. Um, but like, think of what was it? Is it the Small Faces on Odd Gone, which is a cool album, but then it has that talking on side too that I know you don't
Oh
like a lot of
yeah,
people, but it's got doesn't isn't Lazy Sunday Afternoon on that record? That's kind of an old vaudevillian type of thing.
yeah,
And he's singing full Cockney voice, you know. How's your sweet lumbago?
yeah.
Yeah,
I I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I finally got that album.
it's good. I know
Yeah,
everyone. It's a very British album. So people in the UK, it was a massive hit in the UK, not in America.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now we're coming to track two, Strawberry Fields Forever. And I think maybe we agree. You tell me the greatest psychedelic single ever recorded and greatest psychedelic piece of music ever recorded.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably the best psychedelic song that I mean, it was recorded before Sergeant Pepper, and yeah, it's massive.
Now, some would say, in early 67, Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane were recorded first to what was going to be the album that turned into Sergeant Pepper. And
Yeah.
the labels wanted singles, so they put it out. Now, some say they should have put those songs on Sergeant Pepper, but it's a what if kind of question. Um,
Yeah, but you could for me, I you could say that on almost all their albums. They should have put Revolution on the end side four of the White Album with the original Revolution.
Fast
I
one.
think that having three versions of Revolution on side four, that would have put that album over the top,
What about
even though
Hey
it
Jude?
is my favorite
Should
anyway.
Hey Jude have opened up one of the sides?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, instead of
That's
Honey
it.
Pie.
See, I like Revolution number nine. I think that is wild.
I
Just,
think it maybe went on a little too long, but yeah, I don't hate it.
but Strawberry Fields, it's just, I don't know if you have the bootleg, there's bootleg CDs and bootleg vinyl that came out some years ago, like 30 years ago, whatever. And that song was kind of like John wrote it on acoustic guitar when he was making How I Won the War in Spain. That's where he started it. And there's a great bootleg that has something like, I
Like
don't know.
one side, isn't it?
Well, it's
Like,
both sides. It's
oh, it's
the
both
CD is
sides?
the CD is a whole thing. It's about 20 versions of it showing from the acoustic demo in Spain, going through and sometimes he doesn't even have the chorus if there is a chorus, and he changes the lyrics around, and it goes totally through all the takes they did at Abbey Road. First the demo takes, and then when Ringo adds the drum things, and when he changes the way the song starts. I think he like Let Me Take You Down, he on the first version is more in the middle of the song. It's just so great. And the great drum loops that Ringo was doing that ends up and goes on and on at the end. And just of course, the famous story is they recorded this so many times in different variations, and John Lennon leaves and he says he likes the beginning of this version and the end of that version. And George Martin says, yeah, but one's in a different key and they're different tempos. And John just says, fix it.
Yes.
And George fixed it. And it's
Yeah.
incredible. That's why his voice sounds so, let me take sometimes. And then it's sped up, and it works. It makes the song. It makes
Oh
the
man, it really, let me go back to the Decca tapes real quick. If Decca would have signed the Beatles, I don't think they would have been as great as they were because George Martin is so crucial to the Beatles.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anyone else cared and or would have put the time into it. And yeah.
And
And
just the ideas.
yeah.
And they were like sponges. They learned a lot from that guy.
Yeah. And they had ideas, they didn't know how to implement them.
Yeah.
Was great about George Martin, he wouldn't say, well, you can't do it that way. He'd say, well, let's try it. Let's figure it out. And
Yeah.
him and with Norman Smith as an engineer, and then Jeff Emmerich and Ken Scott a little bit. I mean, all those people really kind of just whatever works. Let's try it.
Yeah.
Wow. I love
It's a spectacular time, and
Yeah.
Strawberry Fields Forever is a spectacular song.
And Penny Lane. And we got to acknowledge too, that single, it was like a double A side, I believe. Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields. were the first songs the Beatles did, like writing about Liverpool, their home again.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields are walkable to each other, from each other, you know.
You know, Penny Lane got a lot of airplay, probably more than Strawberry
Oh yeah.
Fields.
Yeah, Strawberry Fields was too weird. Did you ever see that clip, American Bandstand? And it's Dick Clark with the kids in the audience. And this is the first thing we saw. Remember, everyone thought, oh, the Beatles were washed up. They stopped touring. And all of a sudden they come back, what, 6 months later, which in those days was an eternity
Yes.
or whatever, 6, 7 months later. And they show that the video, that weird video, they have facial hair, and part
Yeah.
of it's backwards, Strawberry Fields. And they interview the teenagers, the American teenagers. It's on YouTube, and a couple of them say like they're weird. I don't know. You know, they a couple of them didn't get it. One kid like, yeah, all in on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. The general consensus was, well, the Beatles are done, you know, and
I
they
remember
didn't
that.
have a clue, man.
I remember as a kid, it seemed like forever because they're putting out every few months, like every 3 or 4 months, there was Beatle music coming out, whether it's singles or albums, or of course Capitol kept repackaging everything, so there were like 3 albums every year, pretty much. Um, so that was a big deal after '66. So Penny Lane, yeah. All right, Baby You're a Rich Man.
Fantastic song. Uh, I guess was it the B side of All You Need Is Love,
Yeah, and it's
which
the bass
got
on.
a lot of All You Need Is Love. Isn't that like one of the first satellite
Yep.
things shown
Yeah.
worldwide?
They represented England in that satellite thing, and they had the backing track, and then they sang live to it, and that video is great. Um, but the bass guitar on, like, and
Baby You're a Rich Man?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
you're
killer,
right.
and it's psychedelic in a weird way with a little bit of a funkiness to it.
It
I love
is. It definitely has a psych feel. And I know a lot of people they complain about the Giles Martin remixes, but man, does he bring out Paul's bass and Ringo's drumming.
I'm not
And
sure if that's a
I
good
love
thing,
it.
but yeah,
But yeah, Baby You're a Rich Man is fantastic.
I love it. And all you is love. That has to end the album. It's
Yeah,
just
it's a great way to end it.
it's an iconic epic. John. It's amazing if John gets away with, and I don't mean this as a diss, but he can write about the most cliche lyrics. All you need is love sounds cliche, like his solo record, "Love is real, real is love." Yeah, imagine all the people, such cliches, right? But he gets
Yeah.
away with it and he makes it work. Instant karma's going to get you. Um, give peace a chance. I mean, he
Power to the People.
Power to the People. He kind of makes it like the drums and the bass on Power to the People are very incredible. I know we're kind of straying, but it just shows that for some reason when Lennon uses these cliche things at the time, looking back on it 60 years, it's easy to say, oh, that's bullshit. And that's the thing. You and I were there when these records came out. And it's hard looking back. There's been so many, groups that emulate this. Some have done very creative things since it. They move on, but you can't deny how different this music was in 1967.
Yeah. Well, I th- I think the 60s, the Beatles definitely pushed the envelope of the direction of music in the 60s. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they would do things and then I mean, they reacted to other stuff too. Like Bob Dylan was also crucial, but
Yeah.
I think the Beatles were probably the number one that kind of pushed the direction of music in the
Well, they
60s.
opened the door for people to play more in the studio and to write all their own stuff and
Yeah.
open the door. And even, when you see these interviews with Mick Jagger and Keith Richard, who came a couple years later. They came a few years. They realized the Beatles opened the door of
Yeah.
writing stuff, of doing this stuff, what anything goes for a lot of
E-
groups.
Even David Crosby from the Byrds admitted that, you know.
Yeah,
He
yeah, I
goes,
mean,
when he saw Hard Day's Night, he goes, you know what? That's what I want to do for a living.
exactly. And Roger McGuinn sees George Harrison on the Hard Day's Night playing that Rickenbacker 12 string, and that made the Bird sound. He picks up, he ended up playing it better than George, but he made that a signature sound of him, Miss Tambourine Man and all and Turn, Turn, Turn and all those Bird songs. That 12-string guitar that he
Yeah.
played, just because of George Harrison playing it in a movie, you know. God,
Now, we talked about all the songs. Can I stray just a little bit?
you can do whatever you want because
All right.
this is experimental.
Okay. As good as I think Magical Mystery Tour is, I think it could have been way better. And this is my version of what I think the album, because when Rubber Soul came out and then Revolver and the Beatles, the general thinking was, oh, they're more concentrated on the albums. And I don't really think that's the case with this. They were more concentrated on singles, this TV show, and then later a cartoon movie. But I think the ultimate version of Magical Mystery Tour would, of course, open with Magical Mystery Tour. Then the second song would be Blue Jay Way. The third song would be I Am the Walrus. And then you would go into Flying. And then you would go into Only a Northern Song, which was recorded in 67, but wasn't released until Yellow Submarine in 69. And then you end the side with Hello Goodbye. Then side two would open with Jesse's Dream, which is another song. It's an instrumental song that's like 3.5 minutes. It's more psychedelic than Flying, but it's all four members are credited with it. Open with that, and then you have it's All Too Much, another song that was on Yellow
That is,
Submarine.
I'm going to stop you right there. All Too Much is an incredible piece of music that I never totally loved on the Yellow Submarine soundtrack, but when it was on the song track and it was longer and remixed, that is that's one of the
Yeah.
most psychedelic things George has ever done.
Yes. And it's like a 6.5 minute song, but I believe it's actually trimmed down from a 10-minute recording.
I would
But
love
anyways, then after that, you would go to The Fool on the Hill. Then you would end it with Baby You're a Rich Man and All You Need Is Love would end it. And it would include a couple of songs that were recorded in 67, but were on Yellow Submarine. And it wouldn't include the Paul Wanker. Your mother should know. But I think that would be, without a doubt, the best psych album.
Well, there
But
is an opening now, Lionel Richie. The guy Jeffrey Jones, who the last, I don't know how many years, decade maybe, 15 years, has after Neil Aspinall died, he took over Apple. He helped coordinate the reissue things, and he used to work for Legacy with the Dylan and the Byrds and the Miles Davis reissues on CD. He just retired in the last year or whatever, and I don't think they've announced a replacement now. Maybe they have someone, I don't know, but maybe you could get that gig.
well, I think if they watch Vinyl Richie videos, I might scare them away. But I would
That's
do
part of it.
a great job. I Elton John's a perfect example. I used to have like I had an 8-track recorder and you could record. I would record like I
Wow.
thought the best songs off of his albums, and people would, wow, man, I never heard this Elton John album. And I even did that with the Beatles. I would put kind of like their obscure, their heavier songs. And I remember I was driving in the car and this girl goes, "What band is this?" And I go, "It's the Beatles." And she goes, "No, this isn't the Beatles," because she was only used to the hits on the radio.
You should program. Okay, you could program the albums, the releases for the future.
Oh, I would do a great job.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so we're gonna get a lot of comments. Tell us we're wrong in the that's leave it out. And I want to apologize. I have had a head cold and I'm just drinking tea, a lot of tea, which I don't really like drinking tea unless I have to. I mean, to me, tea is only good for when you're sick and for when you're having Chinese food or Japanese food. Otherwise,
Yeah, I
tea
I
is a
used to
waste.
drink I used to drink a lot of tea. I mean, my mom and dad were Londoners. And then I read that England had the highest rate of stomach cancer in the world. So I
From
just
tea.
quit cold turkey, man. I go, it's not that good.
I'm not going to even, I could comment about after that, but I'm not going to. I mean, look at this. What a great, you know,
Yeah.
the here's a good thing, and a little trivia thing about Imagine Miss Tour, the film. If you haven't seen it, it's worth, there has been, it's on DVD, you can get it. It's a good version.
Yeah.
Yes, it's problematic. It's not great, but it's the friggin' Beatles. So, but there's a scene in Soho in a strip club, and the band is the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, and the song
Yeah.
they sing, I believe, is "Death Cab for Cutie" that they wrote. Of course, there's a band called Death Cab for
Yeah.
Cutie that was named after that Bonzo Dog song. A lot of people don't know that. So,
What about that spaghetti scene?
oh yeah, that's
That was pretty crazy.
with Auntie Gin.
Yeah, but
And of
overall, the movie's a turd. But yeah, maybe see it once. It's like one of those films you should see at least once before you die. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, the booklet is great. You got to have the book. Oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Okay, my copy of this, all right. I have two copies, and this one I bought in England because I was in Sheffield in 1980 at like a Beatle, kind of like a Beatle fest, a Beatle convention. And I met and I chatted with and I got signed by Victor Spinetti.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a trip in that movie.
and he's in A Hard Day's Night too,
Yes.
the director. So
Yeah.
Um, any last words about psychedelic,
No,
about this being the best psychedelic album of all time?
yeah, I think the cover says it all.
All right.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Well,
Well done.
I'll put a link below to Vinyl Richie's channel, so go suck up to him on some of his videos,
Yeah.
and we'll see you next time. We have to think of another uh, something like this, like the best punk album of all time, or some things like that.
Yeah. I might have got rid of it.
Well, we can update it. I'm surprised, and before we did this, we actually agreed on it before talking about it, because you just did a video recently where you included this record. That's what
Yeah, I
sparked me.
it was that 30 albums that are better than OK Computer dash 1001
Oh,
records you should hear before you die. And the first one I crossed off was OK Computer, and I said this one should be included. And I kind of made a comment that it was I had been thinking of doing a video of this being the best psychedelic album ever, and then you picked up on it and you made a comment on the video, and then yeah,
see,
you we gave this to the world.
this is how Lennon and McCartney wrote their songs together.
Yeah, yeah, and the Smiths, I think, huh?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
welcome to Bakersfield, and go home, and then leave. I think, yeah, now leave. Oh man, we're representing.
Representing our home
Yeah,
teams. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everybody.